Woo! End of the year. It feels really weird writing this in October. But, it's December right now, so we're all good. I've decided to stand up for this one, as it is the most momentous occasion of the year, including my birthday. There are many games that I now see in a totally different light, even ones that I reviewed, like Jumping Joe and Friends, and Mario Odyssey, because it doesn't deserve 5 at all. Enough talk. Let's get on with it. Game & Wario for the Wii U. Yes, I still play on the Wii U. Me and like 3 other people. Most of the Wii U's heavy hitters, such as Tokyo Mirage Session Sharp FE, which I'm pretty sure you've definitely heard, have been ported to the Switch, but this game cannot. It's literally impossible for it to be on the Switch. WarioWare Game & Wario, I think that's what it's called, whatever, is one of the few Wii U games to actually use its main gimmick very, very well to an effective degree. I haven't played any WarioWare titles before, this is the first one, but what the whole franchise revolves around is a bunch of quick little mini-games, or micro-games. They're not very deep, but they're more of a pick up and play and try to get a high score. But what makes this one really cool is that you get to use the Wii U camera to make some dumbass profile and stretch your face out, and boom, that's you right there. And one of the best minigames on there is called Gamer. Basically, the premise of Gamer is that you have your own little handheld, and your mother tries to check up on you multiple times through many different strategies, like through the door, through the window, through the TV, and the Wii U is actually the minigame the child is playing. And what you're supposed to do the moment your mother comes in is you're supposed to pretend to go back to sleep, and the moment she leaves, you get back on again. And each micro game you beat, you get 1 point. And what you're basically supposed to do is try to get as much as you can. Although rounds do get increasingly more and more intense. Your mother trying to get you more and more, and the minigames themselves being much more fast-paced. And if you think I'm putting this on this list because of Gamer, well, I mean, you'd mostly be right. But there are many other great minigames in this collection. And if you have a Wii U and the eShop is still around, you might as well cop it digitally because, yeah, it's like $200. Also, some of the audible cues and visual cues are not exactly your mother. When you hear the door knocking, that can sometimes be your house cat. And that person that's at the window isn't always your mom, it's your cross-dressing grandpa. And I just gotta give it to Nintendo, they're being ultra progressive here. This is great. Transvestites finally get to be represented in Game & Wario. Splatoon 3, yeah. I'm one of those guys that finds covering children in your own ink fun. Way. I was rather down on the game when it was first announced for the Switch, as Splatoon 2's presence made this one obsolete in my opinion. And I thought this was like a Call of Duty or a Pokemon type game where it's gonna have like these yearly releases with very minimal tweaks and still coming out for $80 fucking. Fuck you, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, no one likes you. Piece of dog dick. But I'm glad to be wrong. Splatoon 3 actually fixed a lot of problems from Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1, and for having so many of these little tweaks, it actually justified it being on the Switch, and I can never go back to Splatoon 2. Before I start gushing about the game, I gotta say, it didn't reinvent the formula, but it didn't need to, because Splatoon already had a strong core philosophy. The things that Splatoon 3 added are a bunch of little extra movement options, like if you swim in one direction you could quickly jump back, or by holding and releasing B you could quickly zip up a wall. There are a bunch of new maps, with returning ones as well, and the game genuinely looks better than Splatoon 2. Also, Salmon Run has been expanded upon. You don't need to wait for certain hours of the day to play it. You can play it whenever you want, but the maps and weapons shuffle around. Just imagine Salmon Run as like a sort of zombies mode. With no pack-a-punch, you can't upgrade your weapons, but I'm starting to understand that this is a pretty poor comparison. But on the regular core multiplayer side of things, there are new weapons and new special abilities that are so fun to use, like this crab tank and the reef slider or whatever the f it's called, where you ride on an inflatable shark and then explode. Mwah, it's great. And instead of having to play a little minigame in the lobby in Splatoon 1, or do f*** all in Splatoon 2, you have access to an entire training zone to mess around with while you're waiting for the next match. And if the 7 of you who are following me on Twitch, shameless plug, noticed, I sort of grinded Splatoon 3 during the Pokemon-themed Splatfest. And, it's safe to say that, I fucking killed it. Like, there was no competition. Frankly, the fact that I haven't even mentioned the single-player campaign shows how good this is. And I haven't tried it out yet, but the editor can tell me what it's like. I probably don't know. Splatoon 1 and 2's campaigns are pretty miserable. They're pretty bad and boring. It's a complete 180 from the high-octane, high-action multiplayer gameplay and then slow platforming challenges. Now this game probably has the best opening ever. And I'm not talking no anime openings and whatnot, but it actually uses augmented reality. You use this AR tag that's printed on the back of the manual, and then you see this really cool cutscene going on of the world just starting to crumble around you. And I am confident none of you have heard of this one before, unless you are one of my friends, and I highly recommended this, but only like 2 other people I know have one. And they're not as into RPGs as I am myself. I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you haven't. I mean, it is a third-party game on the 3DS, and there really wasn't that many good ones on the 3DS. Most people that own the 3DS just played Mario 3D Land on that, and that's a totally valid usage of the 3DS. But it casts a much wider net than this game I'm talking about. Thus, it never achieves the same highs that Bravely Default does. The name may sound stupid, but I'll get into that. This is a turn-based RPG, but what makes this RPG unique is that you get to choose between either attacking once, multiple times, or defending yourself multiple times while accumulating a bunch of Brave Points. And what Brave Points are basically priority points that you get to use to attack the enemy or heal yourself or use an item and whatnot. So when you defend yourself, you get a Brave Point and you increase your defense for the next turn. And what these Brave Points do is that they are priority moves. And if you're fighting a boss or something like that, you typically don't want your BP to be in the negatives. But in a typical random encounter, you can choose to go ballistic if you think that you can take out an enemy within a few turns or less. And all I can say is that it is a phenomenal experience. There are a variety of enemies to fight and classes to choose for your members. They can all be the same class, or they can be different classes and they all complement each other in one single, unified, tough ball set. You can mold your entire team into whatever you want, and you can make those different classes complement each other, which is not unique, but it's really fun to mess around with. There's tons of content in this game, and the story is pretty interesting. It's exacerbated by its Oscar-caliber voice acting.
Said your contract is mistaken. I've heard nothing of the sort.
Valheim is a procedurally generated survival crafting game with RPG elements sprinkled in there. And it's Viking themed, as you could tell by the fucking name. The game has a unique art style with some beautiful looking visuals as well. It's low poly, but it still looks very good. This game gives you nothing, and I do mean nothing. You're supposed to get everything yourself, craft everything, hunt for food, forage for berries and whatnot, and it's incredibly satisfying to do so, and makes you work to achieve what you want. It's fun putting your effort into something, and then once that thing starts to pay off, you can use that pride from accomplishing all of those other things to keep going, trying to get bigger and better things. It's like grinding in a typical RPG, but with more ways of doing so. The more you do a specific action, the higher your level will become in that specific action, and then you become better at it. For example, if you just keep jumping everywhere, eventually you'll level up and you'll get better at jumping. Same thing with hitting wood, killing, foraging, sneaking, so many things. There's also a hunger bar, but it's a lot more interesting than you think, because you can't just pull a Breath of the Wild and eat 50 apples. You actually need to have a varied diet. You can't just have one type of berry to fill yourself up. You need 2 different types of berries, a mushroom, a different type of cooked meat, and that's how you stay alive. And it's great. It's really unique, because, I mean, that's how you're supposed to live life anyway. You're not supposed to eat one thing over and over again. There are many enemies that can mess you up. The game is fun with friends or just by yourself, but come on. It's one thing to play with your friends, It's another to play with your friends while fighting off an abomination. From Software's games follow a similar design philosophy. They rely on atmospheric storytelling, have incredibly challenging enemies, and have a variety of interesting areas to explore. There's one game they made that deviates from the rest, and that game is Demon Souls, baby. You thought I was gonna say Elden Ring, but I am way too big to put that on this list. Well, now that all my integrity has officially been wiped, I might as well tell you what I like about this game more than the other ones. The game itself isn't exactly super hard, but it can very well be, because there are a lot of little things that just make the game exponentially harder for you. But once you remove those variables, it becomes a bit of a cakewalk. Like, when you die once, you are stuck with half health unless you defeat the next boss, help another player beat the next boss in online co-op, or use a rare stone that can increase your health back to full, but you're open to invasions. A lot of the bosses in this game are weak to magic, and I did not have a magic build. I decided to get some magic. The only problem is an NPC killed my only magic seller in the game. So I was stuck there. I had to use melee, which was fan-tastic, which meant I was stuck trying to kill the flame lurker by shooting a bunch of arrows for about 15 minutes. The thing that makes this game really unique and stand out are the boss fight gimmicks. Sure, most of them are easy, but the ideas are really cool and interesting. The Fool's Idol, for example, she clones herself about 15 times throughout the entire arena, and she also gets revived infinitely if you don't kill that one goblin reviving her from the top. When you go up to him, he says he doesn't mean no trouble, but we all know what he's doing.
Come on and slam! And welcome to the jam.
Good golly, I love homophobia. Wait. This is probably one of the best VR games to get into. Your job is to go into a certain place and gather enough evidence to correctly identify what type of ghost or spiritual entity resides in the area you're in. And then you gotta get the hell out of there before you get killed. You explore abandoned schools, houses, churches, and much more. It genuinely gets scary at times when you know that they're on the hunt and you're holding on to dear life by just bolting and hiding somewhere. I forgot to mention that this game has proximity chat, and the ghost can pick up your microphone, so if you say anything or if you breathe loudly at that point, I mean, I don't really know if it's that sensitive, you will get caught. It's great to play it in VR, and it's even better to hear your friends scream as well.
Hello?
Hey James.
Hey, Taha!
How you doing, buddy?
I'm terrified! Can you get over here?
Okay, I'm trying. Okay, Ennis, give me the code. 2-9. I'm coming, buddy. I'm coming.
There's a...
2022 was the year I first discovered the Fire Emblem franchise. I mean, I knew about it already for several years, but I never bothered to try it out. I tried Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright, and I'm holding it the wrong way, and I sort of got absorbed into it. Yes, I'm now one of those losers that likes those anime sword fuckers. This game is a tactical, strategic, turn-based RPG. It's a more interesting version of chess. Each unit can move a certain amount and have different powers. There is a weapon triangle as well. A bunch of people recommend newcomers to play the game in casual mode, which is when a unit dies, they come back in the next chapter. But classic mode is once a unit dies, they're gone for good. Can you guess which one I picked? I think you'll probably have the idea. So I played the game for about 60 hours, and I have 25, and I still have 2 chapters left to finish. And the game normally is 27 hours. It means I basically reset the game every time a character were to die. It's a bit of a bitch, but it makes me want to try again and see what I could have done better for next time. Notice how I did not talk about the story at all? Because it's very odd and it technically involves incest. There are 2 families fighting over you. The one that you are genetically a part of, and the one that's raised you since birth. Hence, this version is called Birthright. And I forgot to mention, your allies can work together, and once they do work together more and more, their friendship level increases, and once they reach a high enough friendship level, expect to have children. So either way, you're either fornicating a sibling or step-sibling. A large chunk of the games I mentioned are RPGs, but this one is definitely the ugly duckling out of all the games I've mentioned here. But this game has body horror, reanimation, and parasitism. Okay, it's Returnal. This is a time loop game before Deathloop was even a thing, but where it deviates from Deathloop is its unique art style and atmosphere. This is an unforgiving game, where you're supposed to piece together why your soul is forever trapped on the planet that you crash-landed on. Death is no escape. You keep coming back over and over and over again. Time moves forward, while you don't. You see dead bodies of yourself on the ground wherever you go. You start getting a better idea of what happened before you showed up by reading the Xenoglyph archives. Hell, you even stumble into a bunch of audio logs that you left in the past. The protagonist starts to get more and more insane in these audio logs as you keep moving along.
One of my corpses was still functioning. It attacked me and I killed myself. I need to believe it was nothing different than the other hostiles I dispatched, but was it? Or was it another version of me just trying to escape?
The enemies may look rather similar, as a lot of them have just a ton of tentacles, but that's actually a great thing, as looking at them makes me feel disgusted, so that makes me want to vaporize them as quickly and efficiently as humanly possible. Also, the bosses in the game can do this. Returnal is genuinely the best PlayStation 5 game out there. It's so interesting, and so fun, and incredibly underrated. Yeah, this game's good as fuck. Now this is the best game of the year. It's a visual novel. Wait, no, stop. The game is Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. If you were to ask any of my friends that are aware of my gaming habits, they'd all tell you that I'm incredibly slow at finishing games. I just hop from one game to another. I play a little bit of every game whenever I feel like it, essentially. There isn't just one game I exclusively focus on. This is the only game to remain as the exception. Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc involves a bunch of highly accomplished students getting accepted into some prestigious academy. They only select the best people at certain things, like the ultimate baseball star, or the ultimate programmer, ultimate bike gang leader, ultimate fanfic creator. Whatever, the skills themselves don't matter on the surface, but they actually serve a more nefarious purpose. Like murder! Yes, it's a normal, happy little school on the surface, but then everyone's transported into this weird world where there's surveillance everywhere. All the windows are bolted, there's no way to escape, unless you kill someone and get away with it. So once a dead body has been discovered by more than 3 people, an investigation starts. And then, once all the evidence is gathered, the class trial starts, and everybody has to agree on one person. And if all of them guess the wrong person, then they all get executed, and then the killer gets to escape. And your job is to shoot verbal bullets to counter people when they contradict themselves. Then you spell a word that connects to the crime, shooting the right letters, and then you make a whole comic book by describing all of the events that lead up to the murder and how the murderer tried to cover the tracks. The music, characters, art style, and writing are all superb, and I highly recommend those that like a story-driven experience, who don't mind reading a lot, to get this one. It is amazing. So, yeah, that's it. Now that I'm cancelled, I could practically say whatever the hell I want. I want to see more games that involve incest rather than homosexual relationships. Ew. Happy New Year. Good night.